Hello, my future AI artists. Welcome to today's lecture. Well, before we jump into our topic, let's take a look at this background image. The image you see on the screen was generated using the advanced structure of prompts that I am going to teach you today. You may have noticed that this image has a unique sci-fi style and a clear sense of story, which makes it stand out from the images we generated before. After this lesson, you will have the basic skills to generate similar images. So let's dive into today's lecture. As you can see, we added 6 new modifiers. Kind of scary, isn't it? Well, let's break down the structure of this prompt. In fact, all the additional modifiers we added are just to assist the basic modifiers. For example, a little girl standing by the lake and a golden curly-haired little girl standing by the lake in the golden hour are basically the same, except the latter includes more descriptive modifiers. Even if you didn't include golden hour, Stable Diffusion might still randomly generate a scene with a similar setting. However, as I mentioned earlier, if the randomness is too high, it may waste a lot of time. What we want to do is to help Stable Diffusion produce our desired result in the shortest amount of time possible. Into the first one, view angle. View angle is an important modifier that we can use to adjust the perspective of the generated image. In our previous lecture, we used the keyword portrait, which is a professional term used in photography and painting, typically for portraits of people. Another common term is close-up, which is used when we want to focus on a person's face. For larger scenes, we can use modifiers such as wide shot angle or shot from a bird's eye angle to zoom out and show a grander background. These modifiers can help adjust the perspective and create a more immersive scene. As today's lecture covered a lot of content, I won't go through each one in detail. You can try them out on your own after. Let's take a look at subject detail. This can be some detailed description of the main picture, such as facial features, hairstyles like long hair, curly hair, ponytail, etc. Or it could be the style and color of the clothing. You can also describe the texture of the subject, such as the luster of metal or patterns on metal, etc. Here's a tip to keep in mind. Using color keywords like golden or red in Stable Diffusion can cause some issues. Stable Diffusion is extremely sensitive to color-related prompt. So if you write golden dress, the generated scene may end up having a golden color scheme. When we want to create a 3D feel for the main subject of our image, such as a robot or a spaceship, we can use keywords related to renderers, such as Unreal Engine or Octane Render. These keywords can give your image's main subject some 3D characteristics and enhance its 3D feel. However, it's important to note that using these keywords can limit the role of your artist, so it's important to think carefully before using them. Let's take a look at the background of the image. The background of an image typically represents the environment in which the subject is located. And adding a background can make your image more complete. For example, the cyberpunk city is often used in various cyberpunk-style images. Certain specific scenes may come with a certain lighting property, such as a cave or a vampire castle. These scenes often bring a relatively dim lighting environment due to their own characteristics. To make your background more eye-catching, you should also add various background details that are closely related to the background. Otherwise, Stable Diffusion may be confused. For example, some details for a cyberpunk city could be neon lights. Adding appropriate distant and close-up details can give your image more depth and dimensionality. Well, about scene details, it really depends on your imagination and creativity to get your creative juices flowing. Let's talk about lighting now. Lighting plays a very important role in creating the atmosphere of a scene, and good lighting can make your visuals more appealing. Cinematic and dramatic lighting can add a sense of storytelling to your scene, while volumetric lighting can make it look more three-dimensional, often used together with 3D renderers. Studio lighting can have a significant impact on the result of a portrait. It can help to highlight certain areas of the face and create a desired mood or atmosphere. The type and positioning of lights used in studio lighting can affect the contrast, shadow, and overall tone of the portrait. Soft light is often used in portrait photography to create a more relaxed and natural feel to the image. It can also be used to create a more romantic or dreamy look. And bisexual lighting is often used heavily in cyberpunk-style scenes. Now let's take a look at a case study. In this case, we can see that this complex prompt also uses the prompt structure I introduced earlier. The image depicts a futuristic robot fighting on the battlefield. First of all, I wanted to include at least a part of the battlefield scene, so I used the wide shot angle to zoom out the camera. As the main subject of the image is a robot, I used the Unreal Engine as the renderer and added dramatic lighting to give the image some storytelling. Finally, I added background details and an artist. On the right is the image we generated using Stable Diffusion. Doesn't it look great? Next, let's break down the prompt we just discussed. For your convenience, I have split this prompt into two parts. We can clearly see its structure and the order in which the modifiers were used. It's normal to find the structure of this prompt complex at the beginning. You can pause the video and carefully analyze the prompt structure I presented. Now I'm going to give you a challenge. Open up your Stable Diffusion web UI page and generate an image of a robot with a cyberpunk city background. Make sure to use the modifiers and techniques I taught you in a reasonable way. If you forget any keywords, you can go back and review them. This might be a bit challenging at first. I hope you have completed the challenge. Now let me guide you through the process together. I might have some typos. Sorry about that, cause I recently got a new keyboard. Alright, now we have entered the web UI page of Stable Diffusion. Let's start writing the prompt. Wide shot angle, comma, a robot, comma. The background is a cyberpunk city with neo lights, comma. We want our subject to have some detail, so we add intricate right behind our subject, and highly detailed. Our subject is a robot, so we can add Unreal Engine and Blender to give it a 3D look. In case we want our background to have some details too, so we do the same thing for our background. And don't forget to add the resolution at the end. Because my image is quite complex, I am going to widen the canvas width to 832, which is a good aspect ratio for complex large scenes. And then increase the CFG scale to 9. Finally, adjust the sampling steps to 30. OK, hit generate and wait a second. At first, the generated effect may not be very good, but that's normal. Let's adjust the prompt by adding Gundam. Since Gundam is an anime-style keyword and doesn't match our current Unreal Engine, we'll reduce its weight a bit and add standing on the ground to fix its pose. Let's try it again. We can try multiple times to achieve the desired effect. Okay, I'm quite satisfied with this result, so let's pick this one and round up today's lecture. Great job, everyone! Today we have covered a lot. So I hope you really took the time to absorb everything. This is just the beginning of your journey to becoming an AI artist. Oh, and don't forget to include NSFW in negative prompts related to people. Otherwise, you might get some inappropriate results. That's all for today's lecture. In our next lecture, I'll be sharing you some techniques and resources to help you write better prompts, and then we'll install Stable Diffusion on our local computer and discuss topics such as sampler, CFG scale, IMG to IMG, in-painting, upscaling, and so much more. And in next lecture, we will talk about the advanced prompt structure, including lighting, rendering, and more. Thank you for attending to this course, and I will see you in the next lecture.